again!
Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jealousy. Here we go. This P.S. This fix was inspired by episode 29, part 5 of the Elsword story quest. Alright, here we go. Encounter. He didn't like him at all. Why, you already reacted.
I'm cringing at myself.
The fact that it was he who saved her, the way he flirted with her afterwards, the way she interacted with him, he hated it. He hated it so much that it ached at his heart, yet he refused to speak up. Why? Raven could only watch as the two of them interacted like old acquaintances. Perhaps he was so consumed by jealousy that he didn't even notice Rena's discomfort at the man's flirtatious comments. Thinking that she enjoyed a reunion, he stayed quiet. He should allow her, at least. What's wrong with that? But a snide smirk flashed at him, and in that moment, Raven felt his Nasad arm tingle in anticipation. Taking a deep breath, Raven turned his head and looked away. He'd rather not risk the safety of the people around him. Confrontation. Raven knew it wasn't right for him to do this. There was nothing wrong with what Ventus did, but for some reason, he felt the need to warn the man, even going as far as requesting a private conversation with him. As he approached, he saw the same smile from before, that condescending grin that caused Raven's stomach, to flip inside out. But he maintained an exterior calmness. Yeah, scroll down, son. Alright, ready? Here we go.
Oh no.
I don't think you request a private conversation with me so soon, the man taunted, to which Raven ignored. Wait, how do I do Raven? Ventus, was it? I didn't call you out here for nothing. He replied coolly, though teetering at the edge of his patience. Wait, who's saying this line?
It should be Ventus.
Oh, to what do I owe the honor of such special treatment? I will only say this once. I do not appreciate the way you talk to Rena, and I would prefer you to stay away from her. Raven felt doubt and hesitation in his own words, unsure as to why he worked up over this. However, his gut feeling told him otherwise and urged him to confront the Master of the Wind. Ventus simply gazed at him, as if planning on dismissing the ex-mercenary's words. As Raven opened his mouth to explain himself, a burst of jarring laughter interrupted him, vexing Raven as to what would incite such a reaction. You must really like her! Ventus spoke up after his fit of laughter. What do you mean by that? Raven questioned in response, puzzled. Ventus only smiled in response, clearly not wanting to elaborate further. All right, Mr. Raven, I accept your conditions. However, I would like some compensation in return. I am the lion. Okay. The truth.
I had it on muted, but I heard you say it.
What did you say?
I'm the light bringer.
Wait, what?
Hold it right there, you son of a bitch.
A challenge. Wait, is somebody talking? Oh, yeah. A challenge! Raven met Ventus's gaze confidently. It seemed the Windmaster was underestimating him. He scoffed and folded his arms. Is this Raven here?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want? Ventus' eyes seemed to glimmer with excitement at Raven's response before a devious grin stretched across his complexion. A simple request, a trade. If I am to lose her, then I expect you to compensate by offering up what the heck? yourself in return, Raven. Tilde. He spoke without hesitation or without. Okay. He spoke without hesitation or stutter. Huh? What? The mercenary took a second to register what he had heard. Still doubting his own ears, his confidence had dissipated as fast his confidence had dissipated as fast as it had arrived. Smirking victoriously, Ventus approached. Instinctively, Raven took a step back. What happened to that confidence you had before? He loved this reaction, especially from a prideful man like Raven. It satisfied his sadistic desires.
Oh no!
Ventus licked the edge of his lips while eyeing Raven, as if a falcon started staring down at a helpless crow that was soon about to become his next meal. Wait, when falcons eat crows?
No, they can though.
Okay. Stay away! Raven threw a warning punch at Ventus in an attempt to ward off an incoming assault, but to no avail. His attack was stopped by a barrier before he could even make contact. Hey now, there's no reason to get worked up. I have the powers of light. Ventus grinned eerily with the wave of a hand. Raven was pinned up against a wall by an intense amount of air pressure. Panic arose in the pit of Raven's stomach as Ventus approached, slowly but surely, until he was within arm's length. The Windmaster's hand trailed from the tip of the ex-mercenary's claw, tracing along the crevasses and the grooves of the Nasad machinery before coming to a halt at Raven's cheeks. Cupping them gently, Ventus grinned before leaning forward and enveloping the man's rough lips in his own. Okay. Raven's body convulsed involuntarily, as if he felt their lips collide. He hated it so much. Yet, despite his disgust for the taste of a man, the sensation of tongue against tongue, okay, he couldn't help but feel a tinge of relief. If not him, Rena could have been the one receiving the end of this. Ellipses right? Question mark. Seconds turned into minutes as minutes. What the? Ventus held that position, seemingly trying to make the ex-mercenary pass out from a lack of oxygen. Just as Raven's vision began to waver, their lips parted and all the stress of his body seemed to evaporate, allowing his body to fall. Though weakened, he managed to balance himself, stumbling a little on the landing, doubling over, gasping for air. Why did you do that? Questions flooded Raven's mind as he glared at Ventus's taunting smile. Or was that joy? No reason. I've just taken a particular liking to you. Raven? Raven's brows furrowed at a concerned gaze. I hope you'll find our next encounter will be just as eventful. With a flirtatious chuckle, Ventus turned and left Raven to himself. Whatever had happened that night proved only one thing to Raven, that Ventus was a dangerous man and must be kept as far away from Rena as possible, or maybe even himself.
Oh my god, I hate the fact that I put dialogue in my fanfiction. Oh, it's like cringy, that one. Oh, gee.
Oh man. Claps, everybody get claps.
Dude. I'm like choking in the background on PvP while listening to you read. I was winning a match, right? And then I threw it.
Oh my god. Okay. Alright, that was interesting.
That was illegal.
It was borderline NSFW as well.
Alright, the next one is a click one. It's called a mistake. Alright, got it. Ask my pillow to voice her? Okay. You know what? That's a great idea.
Just rub it against the mic.
That's a great idea, Click. I think we'll go with that. That's a great idea. Alright. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mistake. I'm just gonna assume the first word is narrator, even though it isn't, but I like to start off with the narrator. Oberon. His name was said sternly, in a cold tone a mother might use when scolding a child. Eve sighed, exasperated. Just how many times was this servant of hers planning upon failing her exactly? He would always apologize so anxiously, but that didn't make up for his repeated clumsy mistakes. She gave him commands. He was built to follow them. He should follow them, but he didn't follow. Eve found it so tiring. She looked up at him with her arms crossed, and Oberon, her faithful bit of a failure of a servant, looked back down at her sheepishly, if he could sweat. He'd probably be drenched in it by now. He shifted anxiously from one foot to another. He looked so much like a human when he did that.
Oh no, okay.
Eve asked, huffing a sense of superiority that you could find in royalty, or people who think they deserve to be treated as such. He looked down, avoiding her scrutinizing gaze. Are you even trying to improve? Oh wait, shoot.
What happened?
Do you understand how... Oh wait, she's still talking.
Oh.
He nodded feverishly. He was kind-hearted, very good-mannered, but that didn't make up for his mistakes. Oh wait, this is ad now, I think.
There's a lot of Eve dialogue. Oh my god, this whole thing is just silence.
Eve! Someone interrupted. She, unpleasantly surprised, turned around to see the only accursed ad behind her, looking vaguely amused. I guess so. Looking vaguely amused.
Oh gosh.
Aren't you a little hard on him? He does it best, you know? R for reload. Wait, I lost. Okay, there you go. She snapped in response. How rude, I'm hurt. Apocalypse has plenty of personality, you know. This isn't about me anyway. Ed waved his hand. What?
It was too perfect for a Zigbar voice.
Ed waved his hand dismissively, a casual smile on his face. He leaned back. Dynamo supported his weight and yawned, covering his mouth with his hand. His attitude didn't take too well with Eve.
This slow turn to look at Eve as well.
You're quite angry, considering that all he did was forget to pin your hair properly. It isn't that big of a deal, he said, cutting her off. He had no time for her silly tangents. Eve looked as offended as a Nasad could look. What does that mean? I don't know.
I love that writing. Wait, did you write that or did you just read that?
I just read that. No, I know. I said that at the end. What does that mean? I don't know. Yeah, I just said that. That was my commentary.
Well, she wrote that in.
No. Oh wait, this is okay. Wait, is it? Wait, who is this? Someone who prides himself. Okay, yeah, this is it. Okay. Oh wait, it's another. Okay. He cut her off again. Oh wait, that wasn't ad line. My bad. This isn't about me. He cut her off again. Eve's eyes twitched. She started. Oberon was happy to comply, bowing in thanks to Eve. As he rushed around her awkwardly, he tried to give thanks to Ad too, but Eve wouldn't have any of that.
Just silence.
Wait, I lost my place. Oh. Okay. Oh wait, okay, that was the whole line. Rude. Oberon, not wanting to be caught in the middle of their bickering, skittered out of the room. So Eve. Trying to drive such a point home, she turned to walk away. This was her room after all. She did have things to manage in here. Like scold your servants? Ad asked, raising his eyebrows with amusement. Unfortunately for you, I don't take orders. She stopped trying to find something to do and stared directly at him, her eyes slightly narrowed with irritation. Not interested. Also, I have a question.
There's more silence in this fic than actual reading.
This was her chance. She planned upon taking it. Sure, he shrugged. Didn't you program Oberon yourself?
Oh, good point, Ad. You got a point. Every 5 seconds.
He answered flatly. This was such a strange question. She couldn't help but ask. So wouldn't it technically be your fault he's so useless? Eve's lips pressed together and her nose scrunched up. Ad choked? Oh, I don't know. Back a laugh.
I think, yeah, it's choked, yeah.
She spat, fulfilled and amused, Ad waved goodbye and walked off.
Bye.
There we go.
Have a great day.
Oh, wait. That was the last line.
Wait, that was it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Bro, Eve was being so petty in that fic. Why, Eve, why are you so mean?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't even know if there's any dialogue here. Okay, there's small pieces of dialogue, it looks like. The dialogue might be Drbaki, actually. I don't know,
What?
We'll see. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. This is Spirit of a Dragon. Author's note. This story follows the aftermath is 2 words, what? The aftermath of battle between the Elsword party and the Haner corrupted variant of Drbaki. The quote lies in bold italics are Drbaki speaking. Yeah, look at that. The bold italics are Drbaki speaking. The name of the character showing this perspective of the aftermath is Gyrian, a merchant that collects old relics and merchandise to be resold or examined by the local Eldians. Okay, Eldians? Okay. He normally visits Famin's Peak, which is Ara's hometown, to collect what's left from the demon invasion. Thanks, Ran. One final thing to mention. Yes, Un wasn't always the good spirit guide that Ara had as a companion. She terrorized Famin's Peak before she was sealed inside of Ara's little fox hairpin. The more you know. That's true, by the way. Anyways,
yeah.
Enjoy. Neato. Alright. This mountain never seemed to change. It's a beautiful long waterfall that was near the village that suffered numerous casualties due to demonic invasion a couple of years ago. He hated every single trip to this place, but there was still a lot of valuables at the top of the peak, even if they were damaged or nearly destroyed. He also feared the... who is he, by the way? He also feared the stories that would tell of the libraries near his shop in northern Floan, especially about the ones about the demonic fox, Un, that was eventually defeated by a warrior wielding a spear using the power of a dragon. He wondered whatever happened to the fox. Did they bury it? Did they leave some sort of large gravestone or landmark? Did the spearman spare its life and send it back to where it came from? He was never able to find an answer, nor did he ever want to find out the answer. But today was rather difficult, as another creature of myths soon came into reality. There was one story that told of a serpent that was banished from heaven, and it was told that if it eventually waited, its patience would be rewarded, and it would be allowed to come back into the heavens. It was also foretold that this serpent would go through various transformations until it became a dragon that could fly back into the skies and assume its rightful place in the heavens. Many people believe that it was this case for the Warden of Darkness, Drabaki, as the people that lived on the peak of the mountain thought it resembled the serpent from such a story. Although, from the many illustrations of this creature, it was hard to believe that Drabaki could have descended from the heavens and awaited to be let back into its home. It seemed like some sort of demonic creature. Although it did have a serpentine body, it was far looking from any sort of snake, let alone a dragon. It contained some sort of dark sphere within its mouth. Its bottom jaw was separated into two sorts of hinges. If anything, it moved around and looked more like a centipede, with its body sorting multiple segments and a pair of legs for each segment. No one truly knows where Drabaki originated from, nor where it disappears to. It was only known that any adventurer that had the intention of challenging it, that entered its territory, would only be able to prepare themselves as the Warden of Darkness is summoned. It was sorry about that. It was surely a terrifying beast, one that Giran would not survive against at all due to his lack of training and inability to escape the creature's grasp. However, as he made the trip past the creature's normal territory, he heard a loud crash as the ground started to shake and a couple of boulders fell from the mountain's peak. As the dust settles, he came from one of the tiny caves spotted into the mountain, but his mobility was limited due to a large mass in front of him. He put his hands on what seemed to be a really rocky surface that had large cuts and deep points of impact wedged into it. Some of the surface seemed to be burned by some sort of burning energy. Fire magic, he guessed. And then he spotted some holes that looked like piercings from either a rapier blade or a wind-powdered arrow. In the middle of his examination on the mysterious surface that laid in front of him, he came to two horrifying realizations. The first oddity that he realized was that the surface was partially blue with strange markings that resembled the likes of Haner, which he also studied and exploring some dunes that had Haner-like energy corrupting some of the sandworms. The second oddity being that the holes that were definitely made by some sort of arrow attacks were now oozing with a slight magenta liquid. He thought it was impossible for any rock-like material to have liquid dripping out of it, especially since the liquid was somewhat viscous,
Yeah,
but it was
viscous.
somewhat cold. It didn't quite feel like molasses, he thought, although there was one liquid that was very similar to whatever was oozing out of this rock. It was most likely blood. Then everything clicked in his mind. This surface was most likely the carapace.
I have never heard of that word before.
Carpus of a creature that fought an intense battle with a group of adventurers. The only creature that would appear in this territory near the mountain of Famin's Peak would be none other than the Warden of Darkness, Drabaki. If the creature fell from that height and had already suffered prior injuries, it was very much possible that it was either dead or dying at the moment. Although he didn't want to take any risks, the only way around this creature was to go towards the outer way, in which either its tail or its head would be the end. As he carefully tracked down a path to follow, his face flushed white as he discovered a spear in its mouth, 2 pincer-pointed hinted jaws that was the head of the beast. As he got closer to the head, he began to notice that the bluish energies that coated itself around the creature and some parts of his body was slowly fading away and began to draw to one another in a singular orb in the air. The orb fully formed and floated towards some other area on the top of the mountain. It was almost as if Drobaki was being used or controlled by something or someone, and they were done with it. Its head was mostly blocking the exit, but there was a small space he could squeeze through in order to get out. He made his way across the giant spherical objects, and he heard a weak but prominent voice in his head. "Stop!" He froze in fear, thinking that whatever was using the creature somehow detected him, and that he would be next. He looked around, but didn't notice anyone else in the area. Slightly confused, he looked towards what he assumed would be the eyes of Drobaki, which were 4, and he started glowing faintly. Was that you? Or are you somehow talking to me?" "Yes." Although the merchant was terrified, he was more fascinated at the fact that Drobaki was capable of some sort of telepathy, or form of communication. Either way, he was not going to test this creature's ability to move, even in its current state. Then it spoke again. "Moisey." "I'm not here to fight. I'm just a collector. What happened to you? More importantly, are you going to hurt me?" he said frantically. "Yeah, go on. Now. Go on. Now." It was clear that Drobaki wouldn't be able to communicate clearly with his words. But regardless, the merchant was able to understand a bit of what had happened. The warden was under some sort of influence with Haner, which probably caused it even more intense pain on the top of the injuries that had occurred from fighting whoever it fought. Although the merchant was not very good at any sort of magic, he did have scrolls that automatically casted magic spells through incantations. Although he only had 3 of these scrolls, it was an extreme risk to himself. He read the incantation carefully. It's a merchant. What do merchants sound like? Yeah, if you're a spirit of life, give it a vitality. I here for your blessing to heal you the wounded. 2 seconds after the incantation was said, Illipa's aura surrounded the warden, and bright magenta, there's magenta again, magenta liquid-like blood slowly stopped flowing out of its wound. The sphere in Drobaki's mouth then started to flash images rapidly. The deeper he looked into the orb, the slower the images went until they looked like a slideshow of memories. He could see a hooded figure with the same orb with this Haner-like energy that he saw earlier, being forcefully absorbed into Drobaki's head, as it slowly corrupted his body from its normal dark violet hue to what the man saw earlier. A couple of memories show various fight scenes. There were 2 red-haired knights wielding magnificent sword auras. There was also a green-haired woman with an extremely sturdy great bow. Yeah, sturdy great bow, huh? There was also a white-haired woman with 2 other individuals standing next to her. One with the appearance of a maid. Wait, maid? And the other, well, other wielding some sort of tonfa blades. There was also a white-haired man that moved swiftly and was surging with some sort of electrical power. And there was a soldier that looked similar to the White Colossus back at Hamil. Not Hamil, Hamil. However, these memories seem to have some sort of strange divide, as if the creature had fought these people before, when they were fewer in number. It was rather confusing and didn't make sense, but considering that Haner was somehow involved in this, even something that is seemingly impossible can somehow be possible. Then suddenly, the ground below the merchant shook as the giant serpent shook around and moved in a sporadic way. Bits and pieces of its damaged carapace, we're back to this word, carapace, were slowly falling off until the creature looked completely pale. Then its dark violet colors started to settle again, and a new sort of exoskeleton was created and started to harden in place of the old one. It slowly moved back up towards the peak of the mountain before looking down at the merchant. Gratitude. That was the last thing the man heard. before the Warden of Darkness disappeared into the waterfall, never to be seen again.
Dang. Wait.
All right.
That's a bit of that's like Dravaki lore right there.
Kinda.
Yeah, that's so long. Holy shit.
Yeah, I'll say, like, to whoever wrote this, maybe dial it back on describing Dravaki in very, very intense detail.
Dravaki fans are Dravaki fans.
I read a whole paragraph describing how Dravaki looked like a snake. Like, you know, being descriptive is nice, but, you know, dial it back some, maybe. Okay. Alright, this is flirting. Context. The Velder Palace, after reclaiming the city from demons. Raven and Rena are relaxing in the palace hallway, taking a break together by the large group of windows. By the large windows. I don't know why I added group.
Oh,
I agree with Crow. What, switch the voices? Okay. Alessis really helped out in a lot of the battle, didn't she? Rena mentioned to Raven, a grateful smile on her expression as she recounted the events of the battle. He nodded in response to her words. It astounded me that Miss Seaheart could have... Wait, that was really bad. Martea. It astounded me that Miss Seaheart could have the exact same... There, I found it. That Miss Seaheart could have the exact same thought process and strategizing as myself. His response surprised Rena, earning a brief look of curiosity from the elven. You too, Raven? Wait, who's speaking here? It's Raven, right?
Yeah, it's Raven.
I never knew there'd be someone else right here with the same intuitive insights into battle. Is that so? Rena's expression changed with a slight pout as she leaned forward, resting her elbows on the window's sill and supported her chin with her hands and seemingly dissatisfied look in her complexion. Well, good for you for finding chemistry with Miss Alessis. Noticing the change in her demeanor, Raven responded quickly. No, I don't think it's a matter of finding chemistry or not. For one thing, Miss Seagar and I have totally different methodologies. But you share the same basic concept, don't you? Rena retorted. Tell me, Raven, is someone like Miss Alessis actually your type? ? Huh? Seeing Raven bewildered, response amused Rena. She grinned to herself devilishly, turned her body a little so that she was facing Raven. The archer leaned closer towards the man, causing him to involuntarily move back a little. Let me scroll. Oh wait, this is actually pretty short. Okay.
Yeah, it's very short.
Here you are having a conversation in such proximity to this beautiful girl, but you're not showing signs of making a move. She paused for a moment, flickering her eyelids flirtatiously at the man, checking for any signs of falter in his expression. He held the gaze. She huffed in amusement before moving back to her previous position, the same pout donning her expression once again. I assume this is her. Sorry, I have such a childish figure. Raven was silent for a moment as he collected his thoughts. I'm not into exhibitionism, so of course I wouldn't lay a finger on a woman before ad surveillance drones. What? He responded as he pointed back at the little machine that was floating around the hallway near him. Oh, okay, I didn't notice that earlier. Eh? Flustered Rena glanced back, noticing the device before blushing a little in embarrassment. Then if there was no camera or people watching? In that case, ellipses. Raven's voice dropped to a low husk as he moved towards Rena, pressing his body a little against hers as he leaned towards her.
Perfect.
Of course! If you were offering yourself to me, I would not hesitate to partake of you. Rena's cheeks turned a dark red hue. She squeaked cutely in response to his words. Flustered, she hastily stepped back from him. Eh? Raven couldn't help but chuckle as her unusually flustered response, unable to hide his own admiration from her. I take it that you concede to this bout of ours. Oh no, I'm losing it. To which a bashful Rena could only glance down, avoiding eye contact with a slight pout. Pink cheeks still retained their shade. Raven smiled to himself before reaching out a hand to pat the Elven's lady's head gently. Up, wait, I lost it. Up, I found it again. Apologies, I must have gone too far. Rena's pouting intensified, as if in an attempt to be angry at the man that was now petting her like a child, despite being the elder one of the two. Put. That was all she could muster up before turning heels and strutting down the hallway. Raven held in a chuckle as he watched her leave. He took his time by the window, taking in some last few gazes at the quiet city below before finally peeling away to follow Rena into the great hall of the castle. Amazing.
Yay! That one. Oh, short and sweet, kinda. Question mark.
It's good.
Yay!
All right, we'll just fly by the heels of our feet. Here we go. Here we got friendship with no pairings, but Rena-centric. Rating G. Word count 1,600. Summary. Elves are all well and good, but a dark night in Bethma, Rena realizes anew just how much her human friends mean to her. Wowee, sensei.
Oh, sounds cute. Sounds wholesome.
Yeah. Alright. Bethma Lake was rather creepy place at night. The stars shone distantly down on the walkways and water, providing just enough light for Rena's trained elven eyes to cut through the darkness. She jumped as someone blundered onto her from behind, whipped around with her bow at the ready, then sighed. Apparently, human eyes weren't quite as strong as hers. Elsword.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Elsword voice. Oh, this is so hard. Why can't I think of an Elsword voice? Oh, come on. Come on.
Make it an old grandma.
Come on. Come on. I can't think. Oh, man, what did I use last time? This is so difficult. Okay, I got it. Let me see if I can find it. Retta, is that you? Elsword asked, looking up at her. Well, looking up at what he thought was her. His gaze was fixed solidly on her left ear. Yeah, I found it again! I'm back! Yes, it's me! Can't you see? Oh, it's Aisha.
Voice acting. Voice acting is a lot of work.
It's a lot of characters. Aisha. Oh no, there's two girls. What am I gonna do? Aisha. I couldn't say it. Humans don't do too well in the dark, Aisha grumbled. Rena dashed toward her just in time to stop the mage from stepping off the walkway into the lake. Clearly, she said, allowing herself just a moment of sarcasm before switching back into battle mode. Okay, I'll tell you both where to walk. Be careful. Can't you magic up a light? I could, but it drained my mana, Aisha said. We'll just make her that voice. Rena reached out to stop Aisha from raising her staff. Alright, you're useful in a fight, but we don't want you having to charge mana. Yeah, you're useful as long as you don't get in my way again. Yeah. That's just Elsword's voice now. Alright, good.
We're gonna need some like honey after this to soothe his voice.
Rena watched Aisha whirl around to smack him on the head with her staff. He missed almost by a foot. Rena chuckled and reached out with her senses, searching for any nearby spirits that could help provide light. I completely forgot to do rock salt guy, my bad. She could find barely any spots of life. This desert, she reflected yet again, was very different from the forests of her home. She was used to simply calling out and feeling the forces of nature flock to her side. Then again, back home, the spirits had all trusted her to protect them. Here, even if she could find spirits, it often took quite a lot of convincing. Tell them she wouldn't let any harm come to them, and that was the best for them to help her. Ah, here was one. Why is the commentator being like, oh, look at this? Okay, whatever. Here was one. A tiny spirit sleeping in a gorse bush. Gorse. Registering like faint breaths at the edge of her hearing. Rena glanced over at Elsword and Aisha, still bickering, those two, and then closed her eyes, then reached out to the spirit. I need help, she coaxed. Please, my human friends are in danger. They can't see. They can't hear either. I don't know why. Shadow lizards. Wait, shadow lizards. Sorry about that. Shadow lizards. Rena repeated under her breath. They hadn't encountered any shadow lizards on their last trip to the lake. Rena. Okay, well no, we'll make him rock salt. Rena. Elsword asked, spinning her concentration. Are you okay? Behind, shrieked the spirit. If there was one thing Rena had learned in her long life, one thing the elder had drilled into her head, it was always to listen to nature spirits. Rena opened her eyes and pivoted, forming a bowstring and an arrow at the same time as she brought it to full draw. Elsword jumped out of the way when he saw the arrow glow. Rena! Aisha asked. The tip of her staff started to glow at the edge of Rena's sight. She ignored it for the most part, concentrating on darkness and searching for any flicker of movement. There didn't seem to be anything. Rena relaxed her jaw just for a bit. Where? She asked the spirit again. She still got no answer. Two eyes melted out of the darkness, a blade already beginning to downward arc towards Elsword. Watch it! Rena shrieked, automatically letting the arrow loose. Without the full power of the bow behind it, and without proper aim, it glanced off the monster's scales and shattered into light. Elsword yelled and dove into a roll. Coming up behind the lizard man, Aisha waved the glowing staff around, unintentionally throwing shadows that made it harder for Rena to see. Aisha, stop that! She called, ducking and sword swinging. The light stabilized just in time for Rena to jump to avoid the lizard man's sweeping tail as the monster swung around to try and hack at Elsword. Aisha wasn't so lucky. The tail knocked her feet out from under her and she fell, her staff clattering from her hand and across the wooden floor. Metal clanged. Elsword blocked the lizard man's strike just in time to save himself. Rena could hear the nature spirit's frantic, shallow breathing. The lizard man was already drawing back for another strike. Elsword had potential as a swordsman, Rena knew, but she didn't think she could block another crushing blow. And he wasn't at all good at deflecting. Aisha was down, scrambling to find her staff. Rena jumped up once more, and I lost my place, and then dove under the air and ground her heel on the lizard man's tail. Hey! She yelled. The lizard man startled to turn. Rena kicked off the ground, her body twisting into a corkscrew backflip out of habit. Her blood ran cold as the lizard man's sword missed her and barely the breath tips of a leaf. 3 arrows formed, and Rena drew back her bowstring and took aim straight for the lizard man's chest. At the moment, she released. The arrows sailed true. One pierced deep into the lizard man's belly, the other sinking into its chest. The third one tore into its throat. With a gurgling cry, by the way, the lizard man collapsed. Rena barely stuck her landing. The lake lapped against the water walkway wooden struts. Rena watched Aisha finally find her staff and stand, steadying herself with it. What was that? Elsword asked, stabbing the dead lizard man with his sword. Rena shrugged before she remembered Elsword couldn't see her. Who's this talking?
Wait,
This is Aisha.
wait, why can't I also see her again?
It's dark. And their eyes don't work too well. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Creepy. It was just like it melted at the darkness. We better be careful. Aisha nodded fervently. The nature spirit nudged at the edge of Rena's mind. Strong, it said admirably. Protect me? I help you? Without waiting for Rena to reply, it detached from the bush it had been sleeping in and flew to Rena's side, hovering around her. It cast a green glow into the night, barely enough to lift Rena's vision, but apparently, judging by the way Elsword and Aisha both blinked and looked around, providing just enough light for a human to see. What was that? Elsword asked, pointing to the spirit. Rena held out her hand for it to alight on. It did, but only for a few moments before setting off on its orbit again. It's nature spirit, Rena explained. Oh, sorry, I'll read that again. It's nature spirit, Rena explained. I can call the forces of nature to my aid, remember? I've never seen one before, Elsword said. Aisha didn't miss this time when she smacked him. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Yeah, she's been using it all this time, dumbass. Hey! Rena snapped and turned around. She silently asked the nature spirit to hover above their party and provide light. We've got a job to do, remember? Elsword and Aisha stopped arguing at least. Rena didn't have to threaten to break their heads anymore, which was nice. They fell into a quiet rhythm of footsteps as they began to make their way across the lake again. In an elven party, it would be totally silent, Rena knew. Most elves moved quietly naturally, but those who didn't were usually shamed into learning. But humans walked loudly. It would be a pain to be around them for thousands of years. Then again, humans were a lot more fun than elves. Elves tended to be polite but distant, and true friends were hard to come by. Rena could count maybe 2. Her childhood friend Lua, of course, and then Elder Brawin, who had trained her for so many years. But as for the other elves, ellipses. But now that she had thought about it, perhaps it was simply her nature's force power that had made it so hard for her to make friends. There were other groups of friends among the elves, after all. Was it just the spirits that separated her from them? I don't know who's speaking here, so I'm gonna guess. Rena, watch out! It's rock salt! Too late. Rena realized she had been around to walk into a fire totem. She jumped back, kicking into a flip but fumbling the landing and falling on her bottom on the wooden floor. A splinter dug into her hand. Ain't that the word?
Ow! Ow.
Aisha took care of the structure in a whirlwind of ice. Elsword grumbled about not being able to land a strike and glanced back at Rena. Something wrong? The nature spirit hummed fervently. Rena hushed it and smiled at Elsword. Nothing wrong. I just got lost in my own head. It won't happen again, she promised, and pushed herself up from the floor. She pulled the splinter from her hand and made sure she could still draw her bow. We better get going, she said, but only have until the end of night to find out who's been mesmerizing these lizard men. Yeah. Aisha's the hardest to remember. Yeah, come on. So come on, Aisha grumbled, already walking forward. Elsword still hesitated until Rena came up beside him. Okay, we're almost done. Almost beside him. It's okay, really. She reassured him. I'm just glad I have you two as friends. Even as she walked forward and stopped looking at him, Elsword's confusion was palpable. Well, palpable. A very palpable hit. His footsteps were uneven as he finally followed Rena and Aisha, and his sword dragged on the ground for just a moment longer than normal. Rena smiled to herself. That's alright, he'd soon get over his confusion. There was no need for Elsword or Aisha to know that they were the first real friends Rena had made in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually, bits of that gave me headcanons for Reina for future fanfics. I like it.
Yeah. Author's note: this takes place while Ad is an Elria node, and before he becomes a Doombringer. Becomes a Doombringer? Okay. I would have put the Doombringer, but it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, I guess like also no. Oh well. Oh, I mean.
I guess it depends.
Oh yeah, true. That makes sense because their class types are unique to them.
Yeah,
should
I guess
be.
whenever it isn't unique, like maybe Centurion isn't unique, like that could be like a grade of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends. When he refers to Raven, he's referring to Reckless Fist. He is aware of the Debarian's history in Elria Node, and is aware that a laboratory is present somewhere. He is trying to figure out how to upgrade his Nasad technology to further enhance his strength, but it seems to be having a hard time doing so. If there's any questions or spelling errors, please feel free to let me know. Excellent.
Okay, noted.
Throughout his journey in this new timeline, he wanted to keep developing the battle armor due to its energy output capabilities and its compatibility to Nasad components that were in his body. When he was an elder, Ad realized that what his mother had done to him, I'm sorry about that, but he also realized what his father exactly did to him when redesigning Dynamo. He wondered how his father was going to turn him into this rampaging Nasad weapon, especially since there would have been multiple surgeries, and it would be clear they did some cybernetic modifications, just like Raven. And then it started to make sense. Those emergency trips to his father's laboratory, the multitude of injections from needles of various sizes. He was injected with some sort of nanotechnology. The nanotech then made use of many metals and materials that were liquefied and also injected into his body. That way, the nanites would be capable of not only replacing his frail skeletal structure, but would also have been capable of reforming and enhancing his nervous system, allowing for superhuman strength and volatile magical capabilities. Ever since he made that discovery, he realized that this word again, nanites are still functional and are evolving in such strange ways. For example, he noticed that Raven's Nasad arm went from having a more mechanical look to having the sort of rough and unnatural look to it, as if it transformed itself, having similar bioconnectivity to the rest of his body, meaning that it mutated itself from what remained of Raven's blood and tissue, along with other resources such as magics he was exposed to on his travel, while also responding to Raven's own mental state. These nanites, being from a different Nasad generation, while they do not mutate as sporadically as a Nasad arm, they are capable of continuous terraforming with the resources that are available to them. They add one field spell to your hand. Nice. These were one of the factors that went into the usage of the Nasad battle armor. Although it wasn't as important as before, it was worth considering its usefulness and any potential downside or risks. While in a creation phase of the next iteration of the battle armor, one of the servants of the Nasad Queen stepped into his workspace. Too much talking.
It is tiring.
I thought you weren't supposed to be active unless summoned. Then again, I don't quite know how she built you, or how you function so well for that matter. If we stay here too long, I might get curious and find out anyway. Coo. Nasad, I know that's laughing, by the way. I said that as a joke. Nasad maid stared at him quietly. Unfortunately, she was not capable of speech, yet unlike the other two, Oberon and Ferdinand, she would carry around a notebook and pen whenever she needed to communicate. Did she send you here for something, or are you just here as some sort of spy for her? Either way, the constant dead stare into is starting to bother me. As much as I would like to entertain you, I have a fair bit of work to do, so if you don't mind, I would like my workspace to myself. He started trying to get her out. Ophelia started writing down something frantically in her notebook, and then she revealed her notebook to ask the following question. I guess, wait, this is like writing, but it's also like talking? I'll just use my voice. Do you have Nasad technology integrated within your body? This is quite an obvious observation to how well he used Dynamo, and alongside his battle armor technology. Many of Elsword's search party either knew about this or didn't care to ask. Huh. Why are you asking me that? Do the flying magic inhibitors I call Dynamo not give that fact away? He replied sarcastically. Before leaving, Ophelia wrote down one last thing in her notebook and tore out a page, leaving it on Ad's desk before walking out of his makeshift laboratory. As he underwent some trial testing for the new Nasad battle armor, he realized he was only able to increase the output by small increments before the energy would become volatile and destabilize. He needed a way to make controlling the battle armor a lot more efficient, as similar to how Dynamo is linked to him and responds to his orders, emotions, and movements. As he paced around his workspace, he looked through some old documents to try and take his mind off of his current project. He saw a large mass of calculations, in which the results were scratched out or vastly incorrect. These mathematical failures were his attempt to figure out how to get back to his timeline to save his Moda. He never gave up, however. After finishing this training and doing any task involving the L search party, that's right, with a capital L, he would not only recalibrate Dynamo, but he would try to create a new solution or series of equations that would get him back in his time. Along with these calculations was a piece of notebook paper, which he remembers was left out by an earlier guest. The paper read, "If that is the case, why are some components not part of you? There is only one Sonic," which was most likely referring to his battle armor. At that point, oh wait, let me scroll down a bit. At that point, after looking at his past failed calculations, he thought of this question deeply as he took out a blank sheet to write a new equation. A way to have his Nasad battle armor, a series of components that were made of pure energy maintained by magic to be infused within his body. Although this type of idea was absurd, and here's Anne again. Anne, I don't know. Anne would be difficult. Wait, what? The type of idea was absurd and would be difficult to implement due to physical limitations. Using the past equations he wrote could prove to be useful in this endeavor. A way of infusing literal energy into the body without being horribly injured or destroyed in the process, while also increasing the output of dynamo mutation amplification, would be downright ignorant to the laws of physics. Wait, really? However, if I can accomplish such a feat, then it should be the first step to not only achieve ultimate power, but to defy the very laws of space and time itself to get back ... home. If I were in the Debarian lab, will it prove to be of any use? There you go.
I don't know about... Wait, so he's planning on time traveling, yeah?
I guess he's planning to make himself more Nasad? Question mark?
Oh, okay.
Or infusing energy?
So he's taking a page out of Raven's books.
Let us begin. Let us get a move on. Alright. One step ahead. Armor Thomology. Summary. Well, it's water so cold to fall in droplets, so it freezes, and then Wanderer shakes his head to wriggle out of his scarf and blow at his hands, sending the snow straight to Anpassen's face. Yeah, that, okay. The short-haired Celestial lets out an uncelestial yowl, putting away and swatting the cold wetness off his face. Wanderer holds back a chuckle at the display. That's it. Okay, that is quite... Is that really a summary, or like more of a... Here's a preview of what happens. I feel like I didn't get a summary from that, but okay. We'll roll with it. We'll roll with it. Oh, this starts off even. Okay. Which one is... Wait. This is first jobs. Which one's Anpassen? Is that the edgy one? Wait, hold on.
I don't know my
I don't
classes.
know
I'm gonna
either.
be real.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna be real.
I'm gonna go research this real quick.
It's one of the first jobs.
I know that. Yeah, I know that much.
Yes.
Is this Blue Hen? Okay, that's Blue Hen. Okay, it's Blue Hen and Hersher. I guess Soldier 76 is Blue Hen. Someone followed. I think, I don't know. Okay. Wanderer is edgy. Okay, gotcha. Here we go. This is gonna be a challenge for sure. Okay. So, this is what cold feels like. And Passon mused, a few steps ahead, and spreading his arms as if welcoming the falling snowflakes. Wanderer trudges after him, while what he's doing can be categorized as playing with his fingers. Were he not wearing gloves, he has a matching hat complete with a soft woolen ball at the top, and a scarf that hides his face all the way up to the nose. Whenever Passon looks over at him, he can't help but find him adorable. What's so interesting about this? It's like the same voice, but whatever. That one hurts, actually. What's so interesting about this? Wanderer can't help but ask, holding his hand out to capture a few of the... Where'd my water go? Of the powder-like flakes. Well, it's water that's too cold to fall in droplets, so it freezes, and then Wanderer shakes his head to wriggle out of his scarf, and then blows at his hand, sending the snow straight into Passon's face. The short-haired Celestial lets out a very uncelestial howl. This is from the preview. Pulling away and swatting cold wetness off his face. Wanderer holds back a chuckle at the display. That's it, Passon claims, twisting on his heel and leaning down. I'll show you what Elsword taught me. You started it. He gathers snow in his hands, fingers not covered by the material of his gloves, stinging a little, but he ignores it in favor of packing it into an uneven ball. When he deems it okay, meaning it was no longer falling apart in his hand, he straightens out and leans back to throw it at Wanderer. Only to get a face full of snow instead. Wanderer stares back at him, blinking innocently, arm outstretched where he'd thrown his own ball. And Passon is too stunned to retaliate for a moment, and when he does, his ball goes away off course, landing harmlessly in a half-covered patch of tall grass. Oh no, I don't want to read this. Oh, okay. Okay.
No, you gotta.
This one hurts me. Your aim sucks, Anpa. Wanderer chides. Hearing him and Passon can't even stay mad. Not even when the snow melts on his skin and drips down under the collar of his jacket, making his whole body shiver. I thought I'd get you, Passon mumbles, bottom lip jutting out to a pout. Wanderer trudges through the snow and takes his hand, wiping the white off his face and jacket collar with his free hand. Wait, who the heck is this one? Wanderer? Okay. Sorry, Sheila told me to do this if anyone was about to throw snow at me. Who's Sheila? Am I Australian now? Sheila? And Passon tries to pass another pout, but Wanderer knows it's fake from the fact that he squeezed his fingers in Wanderer's hold, and that the corner of his eyes are crinkled softly. Then I'll take it out with Sheila instead. Am I also Australian? Shia? Maybe it's Shia. Shayla? Shia. Wanderer smiles, shaking his head. You'll just get hit with more snow, he says, but doesn't try to stop Passon further. And Passon doesn't even deny it. Aren't you cold? Passon asks instead. Always. What about grabbing some hot cocoa at the end? I've heard Mr. Ancient telling Mr. Ancient... Wait, what? I heard Mr. Ancient telling Mr. Ancient that Ariel's is good, so I bought a few. I don't know. Wanderer snorts. I have no idea you're talking about. The the loud one and the quiet one, and Passon answers easily, already pulling Wanderer in the direction of the inn the gang is staying at. Which quiet one? The haunty one or the stained one? I'm Australian now. Why are you so curious, Wande? Wande? Wend? I don't know. I don't trust the haunty one, Wanderer says, looking away with a pout of his own. Well, if it's the stained one, anyhow, you don't have to worry. Plus, I'll let you taste it first so you're more at ease, Ann Passon says, fingers holding Wanderer tighter. Wanderer is cold, but he can still see where Ann Passon shivered, his lack of a hat and scarf showing through. Wanderer unwinds the end of his and slings it across Ann Passon's shoulders, moving closer so he can wrap it more properly. All right, let's hurry up and I want. All right, let's hurry up. I want to warm up already. I don't even know what my accent is anymore, but I want to warm up already. And Passon doesn't say that he immediately feels so much warmer. He's thankful the scarf hides his burning cheeks.
Wait, is that it?
Alright.
Or...
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Cool.
It wasn't spicy enough. We needed more yaoi.
Oh my gosh. Alright. This is Fluff. Here we go. The soft sigh of exasperation caught Raven's attention, causing the Blade Master's focus to waver as his gaze drifted towards the source. Rena stood there, in front of the kitchen sink, her back... Wait, hold on, the audio. Right here's okay. Rena stood there in front of the kitchen sink, her back turned towards Raven, as her hands worked to scrub clean of the grime from the dishes. Until now, the only source that had echoed around the room were the gentle splashes of rushing water flowing out the tap and the occasional clicking of plate against plate. As he watched her silently, Raven couldn't help but marvel at the woman's beauty. Cascading hair that fell neatly over her shoulders and down her back seemingly glowed with life as a result of the soft morning light that seeped through the windows. A green dress that complemented her figure perfectly, in which, despite being designed for combat, could easily pass as a gown fit for a royal ball. The Blade Master admired her, allowing his gaze to linger on the archer's figure for a moment longer before finally speaking up. Oh wait, Zigbar, okay. Is it still bothering you? Oh gosh, that's actually hurting.
Oh no!
R for reload. Is it still bothering you? The gruff voice of the male alerted Rena, causing her posture to tense up as she continued with the chore at hand. With the chore? No, my bad. With the chore at hand. Oh, here we go. Hold on, I need some water. Sorry, was I distracting you? Despite not seeing her face, Raven could tell the woman was forcing the same everything is fine smile whenever she was feeling troubled. A facade that he...
Facade.
Yeah, I know, but I should say facade.
Yeah, I should have realized because you even said facade correctly.
A facade that he easily saw through. No, of course not. Raven gave one last glance to his blade before attentively placing it down on the coffee table and getting up from his seat. He approached Rena, letting her know of his presence before leaning back against the kitchen counter next to her. She stayed silent. Do you want to talk about it? Come on, answer me. Hurry up. For a moment, Rena remained unresponsive. Wait, that... Oh, sorry, that was Raven. Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to talk about it? For a moment, Lena remained unresponsive, as if pondering on the offer before finally turning off the tap, and with a sigh, taking a moment to collect her thoughts. I just feel like I shouldn't have scolded them like I did. I should have been more patient with the kids. The Grand Archer, bit the bottom of her lips after speaking her mind, refusing to gaze up at Raven, and instead stared at the piles of plates in the sink.
Imagine not having a dishwasher.
I actually don't use my dishwasher.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't work very well.
Oh, okay.
You tried to be patient with them, but you only need to raise your voice when they refuse to listen.
Oh no, Media's voice is dying.
But they seemed quite upset afterwards. It was the most serious argument they've had in a while. Raven couldn't help but agree with the archer on that matter. While the mage and knight usually had a childish bickers about redundant topics that no one else would have cared about, what started out as a joke this time eventually grew into a heated argument about the sensitive topic that made everyone around the table feel unwelcome. Until Rena stopped them, of course, the situation concerned Raven as well. Failure to cooperate in a leisure environment could reflect badly in combat as well, but... So I had to drink.
Oh, okay.
Who is this? Is it Raven? Elsword and Aisha are not
Yeah,
children
it's
anymore.
Raven. It's Raven.
Elsword and Aisha are not children anymore. I'm sure they'll solve the issue amongst themselves like they always do. R for reload. Rena became silent for a moment as she mulled over the man's words before sighing. I suppose. Sorry. I should have more faith in them. No, I'm sorry for putting all the responsibilities onto you. I should have noticed the stress these problems make for you. I'll help out more in the future. His words incited a genuine smile from Rena as she gazed up at the man, beaming happily. It wasn't just because of his comforting words. It was a combination of his soothing tone and confidence that made her feel so assured. Scrolling down. Thank you, Raven! The Grand Archer leaned up to give the man a brief kiss on the cheek before turning the tap on again, returning to her task whilst humming a gentle tune under her breath. No problem! Though he already comforted her, Raven didn't leave. Rather, he didn't want to. His heart mulled over what had just happened, a genuine smile that caused his chest to tighten and flutter, a sudden kiss that caused his mind to go blank. As much as he was embarrassed to admit it, he felt like he wanted to experience that again. The Blade Master's gaze became fixated on her expression, causing him to grip the edge of the kitchen counter as he subconsciously leaned in closely to those lips. Raven! A stern but gentle voice snapped him out of his thoughts, causing him to reel back suddenly as he realized what he was about to do. Sorry! In his flustered state, Raven placed a claw hand over the bottom of his face and glanced away, attempting to hide the subtle blush that had begun forming on her soft lips against his rough ones. Your boy needs chapstick. Raven could only stare back in shock as he slowly processed what had happened. Petite lips entwined with his, silencing any sounds he wanted to make. His heart raced. It took the man a moment, but he gradually returned the action, seemingly melting into the kiss as he gently nibbled the bottom of her lip. Her hands moved toward to touch her. Third party. Oh yeah. Wait, who was Chum? Was it Linkara?
Be yourself.
Was it Linkara? Sorry. Is this a bad time? The sudden voice from a third party interrupted the couple, causing them to separate immediately. Rena hastily returned to her task, pretending nothing had happened, despite the tip on her ears being shaded in the intense red color. But there's a U in there. A deathly silence befell the room, with only the water and plates echoing around the kitchen. Raven stood there in silence, dying on the inside, hoping to avoid the inevitable gaze of the newcomer. But as the silence dragged on, and no one else showed any signs of breaking the tense atmosphere, the man could only take matters into his own hands. He began clearing his throat. What?
He
Prince.
began by what? Wait, what?
Wait, is this Raven?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I just read it weird. So, do you need something, Chung? Flustered, the young prince snapped out of his trance. I came to tell you that Aisha and Elsword are fighting again. Before Raven even had time to respond, the sound of porcelain crashing against the porcelain startled the two males in the room, causing them to both glance at Rena. Those two are fighting again! Exclamation point, question mark! As if, oh wait, I put the exclamation point and question mark in the wrong spot. It's actually a question mark and then exclamation point first. As if on cue, the ruckus of Elsword and Aisha's voices drifted into the kitchen. Wait, there's two more people? Okay, here we go.
Oh right, I forgot about that.
I said I'm sorry, okay? Jeez, learn to accept an apology, you short-tempered purple head. What? Is that how you talk to your elders? How rude. I should beat some manners into you. What are you, a granny? You don't need me to be polite. You're never polite towards elders anyway. And with that, the voice of furniture being thrown around followed soon after.
Man,
Those
their
kids.
Fighting is
What?
extreme. Their fighting is extreme.
Yeah, I
I just
guess so.
realized.
Those kids. Raven felt a menacing aura emanate from beside him, and he glanced over at the source, only seeing Rena's fuming with rage. Thinking quickly, the man placed a hand gently on her shoulder in assurance. I'll take care of it this time. With that, he walked out of the kitchen to confront the mage and the knight in their bicker. Rena stood there, slightly flabbergasted, as she watched the man leave her side. Her rage had dissipated as fast as it arrived, and she now felt an immense sense of physical emptiness besides her. The spectating Chung chuckled a little to himself before following after Raven. Rena sighed to herself and returned to complete her duties. She dried off the last plate. A cheerful grin dawned her expression. Today was a day off. She could spend as much time as she wanted with him. Her ears perked up a little, checking for any more signs of arguing. The house was relatively quiet now, causing the archer to feel even giddier. She dried off her hands, forgetting to put on her gloves as she half skipped out of the kitchen to look for Raven. Even without speaking to the nature sprites. I'm more of a Coca-Cola fan. Okay. Serena had a feeling that the day was already blessed with good fortune. Alright.
Hey.
Claps.
I like the spice. Dude, people need to put more spice in their fanfic. I feel so embarrassed about writing all these spicy shit. I
Alright.
saw it.
Let us begin. Endless possibilities. I see it. I see it now.
Oh
and
my
now
God.
it's on. Infinite timelines, each one drained of more and more energy from him. Every jump left part was of himself behind. That wouldn't stop him. Somewhere in the expanse of time and space, there had to be a way back home. That hope was the only thing that kept him from becoming like his other selves. Although some days, the promise of a virtual reality sounded like a world he could settle for. Veins of white split the darkness around him, seconds falling like sand. Shards of pink fell as well had crumbled. Where would he end up now? At what point would this Elsword be at? I almost read that as Elsword, but it's Edward. Maybe there would be more instances of extra successing, or perhaps this time grace would triumph. A deep breath went into his lungs. As everything both slipped away and fell into place simultaneously, ocean waves lapped around him as gravity gripped on what little it could. The empty dullness whisked away like a sink tablecloth beneath dishes. Then a gentle warm wind caressed his cheek. Spring. He knew this wind well. He needn't survey the surroundings to know where he had fallen. All necessary details etched into the molecules making up this world, the very essence that his current existence thrived on. warmth against his skin, a feeling long forgotten. Previous worlds had been bleak at best. Ad must be happy there. Yes, the strings of time seemed to be colored around the emotions of him that belonged there. A whirling hit his ears. Sometimes his own memory astonished him. Hold on. Psych! It's me again! Ah! Why does it keep falling? Edward grumbled aloud as a small round machine rolled through the grass before him, an early prototype of dynamo. He felt previous him would smile, but emotions were something else foreign to him these days. Ad watched himself tinker with the inner mechanism, on how naive he once was, barely understanding how to install a motor, much less an efficient one. Of course it wouldn't fly with those rusty parts. Although for what he had at hand, Edward did well. Surely this would spur in later times. How's it going, Edward? Ad turned around at a soft voice, one that almost matched his memories. Father wouldn't like it. Tears pricked at the corners of Edward's eyes, but he wiped them away before he could evolve. You're creating, I'm sorry about that. You're creating machines from scratch. Any parent would be enjoyed. Her smile was genuine. Oh, it actually is a girl. Her words were far from it. Not that Edward could hear the pang of fear behind Grace's tones. A convincing mask she once wore, if you hadn't seen it infinite times. The only times when Asker was actually proud of Ad were the ones where he had become nothing more than a mindless weapon, adhering to every whim Asker could conceive. Wait, this actually like Ad's backstory? Because this is like the second time it's been referenced that his parents want to make him into like this weapon. Is that legit?
Yeah, I think so.
Huh. Yeah,
I think it's in Ad's. I never read about Ad.
Something in his chest pounded. Could the jewel embedded there have pulsated again? Last time it had. Why don't you get ready for dinner? Grace patted Elsword. I keep on saying Elsword. Edward's head. Will Father be there? He's buried himself in his research all day. To Ad's ears, that meant Asker had yelled at her, even raised a hand to her, although she didn't have any visible marks. Her eyes were sunken in, though, the exhaustion dragging her gracefulness down. Signs a child couldn't see, but Ad saw them every time. Every single one. Edward nodded, scooping up the Nasad parts. Grace convinced him to go ahead with the promise of a surprise present letter. Her hair flowed in the wind as she turned her gaze toward the sky. Ad might have cocked his head. He never lingered randomly like this. Again, he felt a strange sensation in his chest. Could it simply be the thud of a doomed timeline? Although none of the previous ones had been this intense. I knew this place was special, Grace mused to herself. Her gaze traveled around, as if looking for something between the blades of grass and empty air. This isn't the first time, as illogical as it is. I know it's true. You're here, aren't you, Edward? Or should I call you Ad? Ad froze. Each tick of time around him patted against everything he had once been. She looked over her shoulder when it had been too close, shivered when he dared to think about reaching for her hand. She never acknowledged him. For the first time in eternity, Ad was lost. Words were pointless. Actions couldn't be seen. How she even knew defied everything he knew. I suppose if you're here, ... then your father's plan failed, at least in your timeline. Ad felt a salt sting his eyes. She was cooking with salt. Okay. Whether he was even capable of crying had been a question lost to the sands of time. You're not like the others I've seen, though. So she had seen his other selves. To not be fazed by any of it, though. To see what he'd become across many universes and still smile at this version of him. Well, I can't even see you, but your energy is the same as his. She paused to tuck a strand of hair between her ear. Asking you anything is pointless, I know. I shouldn't know anyway. At least, let me say that no matter what you become, you're still my Edward. I can tell because you have my voice. As she finished his name, she turned and smiled directly at him. Once more, his chest ached. This time, it wasn't a jewel. A single tear rolled down his cheek as he crumpled. Everything faded to black and shimmers of pink. Her image lingered in his mind. Just what versions of him had she seen? Had she truly seen the monster he had become in various timelines? Did she have a clue as to what monster this ad was? He reached a hand out. She offered her hand the moment he fell. Somehow, in all realms of possibility, a version of Grace had seen him without actually seeing him. That ever-present icy chill ran through his body with increased intensity. That trip stained from what was left of him. A fleeting thought using a burst of time, but why? That Grace had her own ad. Even if he had tried to alter that timeline, she wouldn't look at him the same, nor would it be his Grace. Who? What?
Oh, no. I was gonna say, I forgot that Ad's mum's name was Grace.
Me too, actually. Me too. His Grace, ellipses. How many versions of her had he seen? How many kept smiling through all the pain and anguish? How many continued to radiate through the fabric of space no matter where he went? And yet, he couldn't return to his home, to his own mother. That thought, that one that aided him like no other, pink specks like ants in the trillions crawled over his skin. What was left of it anyway? This body couldn't take much more. Already pushed well past its limits. Mother! His voice rippled, echoed, distorted in countless ways. Somewhere, sometime, another him would twitch at the ghostly wail. Exhaustion. That's what it was. Ad had finally given up the fight. Physically, would do no good to someone with no home. If he wove himself into the fabric of time, he supposed what would be the closest he'd ever get to his Grace. You get it? Because they use Grace as her name, but also the meaning of the word grace. It's good writing. That's good writing. Another pulsating from his jewel, except in rapid fire. A thud resounded throughout every molecule, bonding him together. Yet, he could melt and dissolve and become grains of time ticking throughout existence. Or, he could meld his soul into everything that was, has been, and would be, and manage to keep some existence that could still be called Ad. If not for himself, then for Graces that had cried... Graces. Huh. Interesting. That had cried over his death. The ones who had lost him too soon. Each and every Grace that have accepted him and his other selves as they were. In the endless expanse of the universe, surely he could find more timelines yet to be created. Ones where Grace could see even him. Or at least find a way to communicate with her. Then he could apologize for not being a better son. For becoming a monster over and over again. For failing to save her every single time. For even the versions of him that had killed her. Yes, he would blind his existence to the singular existence that was Grace Grenor. I'm taking over this timeline. He would continue to exist and traverse the worlds for her sake alone. That was the life of Edward Mad Paradox. Gentlemen would choose this time period.
Is that what? Wait, so did he kill Grace in that one?
In some timelines, I guess. I don't know about this timeline, but yeah. I guess in some timelines he did.
Or why is Mad Paradox story so depressing all the time?
I don't know.
I like it.
Don't time travel backwards, kids.
Yes, exactly. Learn from Ad's mistakes.
Alright, and that is... Oh, I forgot to change the name. Whatever. Yeah, and that is that. We went through every single fan fiction you guys have for me. Oh, man. That was crazy.
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, this was 2.5 hours. The other video was like, I think 2 hours as well. Crazy, crazy stuff. All right, everybody. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Have yourselves a absolutely fantastic day. I'm gonna see you guys next time. Join the Discord so we can do more fun event thingy things like this. Bye bye.
Bye.